Hey, Shalom Markins, Rakam Makapashim, GMS London, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Chachadash. Want to give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the hopeful elect, pushing this truth in all sincerity. Back again with another video, and I got this tweet that was posted up in the chat, which, on the surface, if you was an American and, Department of State said this sounds reasonable. But to back this is a slippery slope, considering the direction that America is heading in, right? So it states the United States has no obligation to host foreigners who wish death on Americans. The State Department continues to identify visa holders who celebrated the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk. Here are just a few examples of aliens who are no longer welcome in the US, right? Which I ain't got to list it, but on the surface, it sounds completely reasonable, right? Because why would you want, visa holding foreigners in your country where they're wishing the worst upon your citizens? Fair enough, in it, completely understand it, right? But again, like I mentioned, this is a slippery slope, right? Because we know it's not just it wasn't just these foreign visa holders that were being targeted during this whole C. Kirk removal act, right? Because there were American citizens that were, speaking on it, right? That weren't speaking very favorably. And they were highlighted and targeted, right? Trump calling for, the rest of Antifa, these left-wing politic dudes or whatever, right? So if it's possible that these men can kick these guys with visas, these foreigners with visas, and what stops them, expanding that to American citizens to revoke their visa, to revoke their citizenship, right? To deport them, prison them, do whatever with them, basically, right? Because Trump is going on his totalitarian dictatorship mode, right? Emperor Nero mode, right? It's always a slippery slope because this is being directed internally in America also, right? And Trump is gonna be taking aim at whoever he feels like it needs to be aimed at, or whoever isn't pleased with what he got to say is an enemy combatant, and he could be taken out the game, right? You ain't a real American. You can you how can you be American when you saying these things and you're against what I got to say and all this kind of business, blah blah, blah. You're not a real American, and so your citizenship can be revoked, or your constitutional rights can be taken away, whatever he decides wants to happen, basically, right? So what I did as well is I typed in revoking citizenship into Google, right? And the AI has come back with this, right? So revoking citizenship can be a voluntary act through renunciation or an involuntary process called deprivation, right? Imposed by a government, right? Renouncing is when you're like, I don't want to be here no more. I don't want to claim to my American citizenship, because you have people that have left and renounced their own citizenship and moved to a different country, got a citizenship in another country, and is now living there. And I think obviously you don't have to pay taxes no more on that kind of business or whatever. But some people have done that, right? But there's an involuntary process that exists, right? It says let me read on. Renouncing a citizenship is a personal choice, often to hold citizenship in another country, while deprivation is a government action, typically for national security, right? So if they deem you a national security or a threat, right, which is what they are basically doing, with you Americans inside, right? You citizens in America, right, concerning this C. Kirk thing, right? Because he's making it sound like you some terrorist organization. Because you hold separate beliefs or you spoke out against the man or Trump or anybody that he likes, right? Then you can be deemed as national security threat and have your citizenship revoked, right? Which means you don't have no rights anymore. You don't have no rights no more, right? This is typically for national security reasons or fraud, and it can be a complex process with legal rights to appeal. Well, you know how Trump gets down. Okay. So let me just focus on the involuntary deprivation part, right? So what it is: a government imposed action to take away a person's citizenship. Reasons: fraud. Okay, this is a good one. Right? Fraud: the persons obtained their citizenship through fraudulent means. All right, cool. Conducive to the public good, for the people's best interests, right? This is typically for national security reasons, such as counterterrorism or serious organized crime. So like I said, the Trump administration and these guys, they can be quick to label people terrorist organizations, as we've seen with like Antifa, right? They can just label anybody they want at any time, right? So if they decide that you are not conducive to the public good, guess what? You are enemy of the state. You are a target. You're a target, and they can revoke your citizenship, right? Conditions: the government must be satisfied that replace that with Trump. Trump must be satisfied that the individual would not become a stateless, right, as a result, for those born British or whatever. For those who have naturalized, deprivation is permitted even if it results in statelessness, right? Process: the individual is usually given written notice. There's a usually given. There is a right to appeal the decision. In some cases, involving national security notice may be withheld. All right, so it's talking from a British perspective here, but I'm assuming here, right? So, but it's something that can be done, right? And so you don't have the same rights as anybody else, like those that have it, right? So, like I said, this is a slippery slope, right? Because like I said, they can do this to American citizens also. All right. So let's just get some scriptures, right? Sirach 12, but I just want to get verse 17, right? If adversity come upon thee, this is never trust thy enemy, right? Verse 10, but I'm going to jump down to verse 17, right? If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first, and though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee, right? So again, it sounds like a reasonable thing that they're doing, and which is going to help make America safe or whatever, right? Supposedly, all right? Because we don't want guys like this wishing death on Americans. All right, cool, right? Understand that, all right? But it's a ploy for something else, right? To further strengthen his power, right? To bend the laws and the rules and how he wants to have them. And so if you back it, then you're opening the door to that, right? It says Habakkuk 2 verse 5 says, yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell and is as death, right? He's not going to stop. He ain't going to stop there, like, just dealing with the foreigners, foreign visa holders or whatever. They ain't the main target, right? So he's not going to just stop there, right? So is his death and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations and heave unto him all people. This is going to affect everybody, right? This is going to affect everybody, man. Okay, he's not going to just stop there, right? And you're going to find out it's not so, was it so beneficial, ultimately? Right, this is Isaiah 10 verse 1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, that right grievousness which they have prescribed, right? Because let's say they're looking to tear up all these rights that you so-called, people have, right? And you'll be living basically on the whim of the elites, right? You don't have no rights, right? They don't want you to own anything, right? You're basically left with nothing, okay? And you're going to survive on the say-so, the whim of the elites, right? You're not going to have all these constitutional rights and all this sort of business. That's all going to disappear, right? Because they already got you arguing about all these rights. But we can possess guns, but guns is dangerous. You have all these tear-ups over this constitution that was never really been upheld, and they're just going to get rid of it, and the government's going to have all the power, So yeah, they're going to, the decreeing unrighteous decrees, all right, it says, and that right grievousness which they have prescribed. Okay. This is Psalms 94 verse 20. It says, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, with the Most High? Now these men are not righteous. They're not with the Heavenly Father. They're not concerned about the laws of the Heavenly Father. When have they ever been? Right? They don't actually conduct themselves by the law of the Heavenly Father in the scriptures, right? So which frameth mischief by law, right? They sign all these different things in this place really to create mischief, man, to do wickedness. That's the reason why they're bringing in all these different things in. It's not because it's going to benefit the people. Okay, they're setting up boogeymen and all that kind of stuff so they can, power grab basically. Okay, and put you people in a trick bag, right, to get you take the MOTB. All right. So they gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous, right? Because ultimately, doing all of this, because the problem with us, I guess, is that you still can't directly come for us, or directly speak about us, right? Because it grabs too much attention and too much validity, right? And so they always go through these indirect means to implicate us into other stuff, right? So they can, kind of do us harm or bring us trouble. All right. And so if they're just throwing us all in, like, because we talk about America's destruction all the damn time, death to America, whatever, right? But we wouldn't necessarily fit that criteria that we were just speaking on that was in that tweet. But they're gonna find a way to internalize it so it affects those that have citizenship in these different places or whatever, right? And just say, look, these men are terrorists or extremists or whatever, and they need to go. We need to get them out of the country, or we need to disappear them or whatever, right? And that's how they're gonna come after us, right? To try and keep this truth on the wraps, right? But ultimately they're going to be unsuccessful in keeping the truth on the wraps, right? It's going to become a big problem, right? And so they're going to try to need to find ways to try and get rid of us, man. But some of us have rights, right? We've got rights, right? Even Paul, played the Roman citizen card in it to get out of trouble, and we've got rights in it. But what happens when all those rights are taken away? And they kind of legally taken away now because of all the things that are being put in place right now. So it's a slippery slope, because they say that we're going to be a major target of all these different policies that are being put into place, right? So again, it's a frame of mischief by our law, because they know what they're going to do once they're taking all these powers and rights away from the people. They know exactly what they're going to do with it. They know exactly what they're lining themselves up to do. Okay, this isn't about these men initially. This is about you, the American citizen, the British citizen, or whatever. It's to ultimately form an assault against you, right? So again, they gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemn their innocent blood. Because we're just spitting facts. We're just telling the truth, man. Okay, we ain't done nothing to you, right? We're the innocent in this world, right? In the eyes of the Heavenly Father. So you coming up against us and want us to put us in jail and do us harm. Okay, that's you coming for innocent blood. Okay, which you're going to be judged for, right? So the Lord Yahweh is my defense, and my God is the rock of my refuge, and He shall bring upon them their own iniquity, and shall cut them off in their own wickedness. Yea, the Lord our power shall cut them off. So only all your attempts are going to fail. Your whole agenda, your whole NWO is going to fail. Okay, because like I said, all this is just being done to strengthen that, your NWO. It's Isaiah 59, 59 verse 7. Right? So their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed innocent blood. Their thoughts are thoughts of iniquity, wasting and destruction are in their paths. The way of peace they know not, and there is no judgment in their goings. They have made them crooked paths, whosoever goeth therein shall not know peace. All right. So that's the thing, they're planning on doing evil and wickedness and shedding innocent blood. Okay, with all these moves that they're making. To come against the righteous, to come against the Lord's elect, these Lord's people, It's Psalm 64 verse 5. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them, right? So they're just setting it up. Everything they do, they're just setting it up, man. So when they pull the plug on this system, and then they've got everything at their disposal to do what they need to do. This is Revelation chapter 13, verse 50. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed, right? So if you're against the system, you're against, the words and the words of the president, the image of America that he's setting up. Because you ain't a real American, you can't be talking about man like Kirk. He's a good man. You can't say nothing against them, right? As far as Trump's concerned, as far as the right wing is concerned, you can't say nothing against these dudes. If you do say something, you can't be American. You must be some sort of extreme element or whatever that needs to be taken out of society. You're a problem. You're the problem in this place. You're the reason why America's failing and all this kind of business. So, if you're not down with the image, being down with the policies and all, everything that's going on, right? Guess what? You need to be removed. You're an extreme element that needs to be removed from our society. So yeah, people are gonna get X'd off in that time, right? Because you don't worship the image of the beast, right? But a lot of you are gonna be scared and just gonna bow down to it because these men don't really want to die, so you're gonna bow down to it. But there's gonna be some that are gonna resist, and yeah, Esau's gonna do what he needs to do. In 2 Ezra chapter 16 verse 7, he says, for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. Right, so like I said, we're going to be a very a big focal part of Esau's attack, right? Of all of these policies that he's changing and these things he's implementing, right? Because he wants to get to us. All right. For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. Right? For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. Okay? So yeah, it's time of Jacob's trouble, time of our persecution, man. That the tribulation we're gonna have to endure. All right. Is Revelation chapter 2 verse 10. It says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried. Right? And ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. All right. So again, all this is just being set up, man, for this time to take place. Right? But it's going to affect everybody that doesn't agree with the government, and you're starting to see that with how Trump's moving, how he's talking, about the left. And what he's doing with the ICE and all of this that he's doing. This is just the stepping stones, right, to like a whole like a martial law system, man, where anybody can get it. Anybody that speaks against it can get it, man. So we're gonna see that, all right. But we're gonna have faith in the deliverance that Yahweh Shem Yahushua have said to us. Right, not to fear this man and everything that he's doing. Just to have faith and trust in the Lord. All right. But yeah, for you Americans and that, it's a slippery slope, man. You back in that, but hey, we ain't gonna say no. Don't hold back. We're gonna get this done, right? But just know that it ain't gonna be only about these individuals that have been mentioned here in this tweet. Okay, the wrath of the president is going to fall upon anybody, right? If you ain't down with them, you know. But yeah, I'm gonna end it there. Lord, when it's a bit edifying, and I'll catch you brothers and sisters on the next video. Until next time, I say shalom.